What limits the proliferation of isotopes within atoms? That is today's question. And stay tuned toward the end. We'll be giving the answers. But welcome to my channel. Thanks for coming in today. And my name is Thomas, and I do videos on educational matters. We will be starting a number of different units of educational topics coming up very soon. At first, though, for the first few months of the course, we're going for the channel, we're going to be reviewing all of the 144 different aspects of the Tree of Life. The reason why we study Tree of Life is because I think it's a great tool, not only to for its own sake, to put things into proportion, prioritize things, be able to remember things, be able to recall and collate things, but also to be able to do the same with information from other sources. So you can use the Tree of Life in order to integrate large amounts of material from all kinds of other sources. And so we're going to learn Tree of Life here, get a good background with it, get it into your memory, and then when we go and study all of the other units of little courses, little subjects, topics, then you'll have a good place to put them so that you can remember them and utilize them. Okay, so here is the Tree of Life. As you can see, this is in a diagram. The diagram goes way back to ancient Egypt, if not before, and it is it's not something that is evil. It is a technology that's just like anything else, can be used for good or evil depending on the intention of the user. It can also defend yourself. It can be used to defend yourself from evil because now you know their playbook. Okay, so the Tree of Life has 10 different circles that are numbered 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Then there is a thing here called the abyss, a dotted circle. And then there is a 0 above the tree. Okay, so that makes a total of 12 different components. Now, where we get the 144 components is by fractalizing the tree, which basically means taking the whole tree and shrinking it down and then applying it to each sphere. So basically, the whole tree is like a map of our consciousness. Each one of these circles or spheres is really a faculty of our consciousness or an aspect of our consciousness. So the tree itself is a map of all of our consciousness. Each one of the spheres is an aspect of that consciousness or an ability of that consciousness, that whole consciousness. So, and then when we fractalize it and we put the whole tree on each one, we're basically breaking down each faculty or each aspect of consciousness into its 12 component parts. So we have 12 here, 12 here, 12 here, and so on for a total of 144 different fractal faculties, or what I refer to as stages of life, history, cosmology, and spirituality. And those, I've written those up into a free guide. If you'd like to click the link in the description, I will send that out to you for free. You can use it as kind of a scorecard as you watch other videos in this series, and to be able to kind of be able to see the whole picture at once, because I only present one out of 144 for each video. So, you know, it can get confusing if you don't have a kind of a starter map that gives you the reference points. Okay, now, so when the universe is created, it starts from up here and the creation goes downward. When we are born, we start down here and we progress in this direction in our spiritual development. So we start here, we've got the 10 open at birth. And then as we grow up and mature physically and spiritually, we will gradually be able to encounter some of these other aspects of our consciousness and be able to open them up. Okay, most of us don't get too far, but if we are intent upon our spiritual development, we will, try to move up as far as we can on this tree. Each one of them is, difficult. It's a process. You're not going to open all of them overnight. It's a lifelong thing. And very, very, very few people ever, get up here and open these up. Now, they might have access to them from time to time or have glimpses of them, but to actually open them up and become fluent with them is a very rare occurrence and only results from a lifelong commitment to spiritual development. Okay, so the 10th sphere is really our sense of instinct. This is our wild animal consciousness. This is where we start from. This is open right away, and this is our life force. This is our basic life force. It keeps us alive regardless of our conscious intent. Our heart keeps beating, we keep breathing, our organs keep working regardless of any input that we have on it. Any input that we make will be negative, and it will damage our life force, like through addictions and lusts of the body. But basically, this is our body consciousness, wild animal consciousness that keeps us alive. Fight or flight response, kill or be killed, the state of nature, the law of the jungle. This is all here at the 10th sphere. Now, as we're born and we grow up in a home, we develop this 9th sphere, which is where the 10th sphere is like the wild animal consciousness. The 9th sphere is like our domesticated animal consciousness. So this is what we get in the home, in the domestic sphere, where we are, very young, the first few years of our life, and we are wide-eyed. We are taking in everything from our environment because it's all so new and fresh to us. So we have this, what you call a mediumistic trance, or very heightened state of receptivity. And we use a lot of our receptivity on those we are devoted to, which are our caregivers within the home, the ones who are feeding us and cleaning us up and providing shelter for us. They are devoted to us, and they are nurturing us, and we are devoted to them. So we stare at them, and we eventually imitate them. And we imitate what they do, and we practice it over and over again until we are fluent with it. Once we have this level of fluency, then it kind of goes back into the 10th sphere and becomes, part of our body memory. We really have it memorized. That's like walking and talking. Eventually it's a struggle to learn it. We have to practice over and over again. Once we have the skill, we pretty much own the skill, and we don't have to really think about it anymore. We don't have to think about our walking at this point in our lives. But when we are very young, it's, something that we have to concentrate on. Okay, now, if the 9th sphere is the domestic sphere, the 8th sphere is more like the public sphere. So this is what we get once we start going out in public. We go to school, we go to church, we go to the shopping, grocery store, we go to the rec center, wherever we're going, we go to the neighbor's house, and we begin to get the common sense, the conventional wisdom, the expert opinion. And most of this is being proffered by the experts, the people at the institutions of higher learning, also the institution of the church and the media and the government and the big corporations. All of these institutions, the establishment, they're giving us the conventional wisdom. They're telling us what we're supposed to believe, about things, and they're telling us how we're supposed to behave in situations. So this is really, our kind of overlords that are trying to socialize us. They're trying to get us to obey their dictates because this is the way that our society is going to be able to function. And the problem with the asphere is that it's somewhat of a trickster, meaning that they can tell you the truth or they can tell you a lie, depending upon which is convenient for them. And this is also where all the resources are located. All the reputations and the status and the resources are located here. So this creates a little bit of a tension for a young person or an older person, depending. You need to be able to kind of establish yourself as an adherent of the asphere in order to get into the best schools, in order to get the best jobs. So you have to kind of endorse this, whether it's true or false, in order to be able to get the resources that you need and to keep up your reputation to a certain point so that you're not an outcast and a disgrace. So sometimes what they're telling you here is directly in opposition to what you all have already experienced. You've experienced the sky being blue and they're telling you that the sky is red. And you're kind of just like, I swear the sky is blue. But they're saying everybody knows the sky is red. It's so obvious. What's wrong with you? And so you're being more or less coerced into accepting this. And you know that if you don't, you're shunned and you have no resources. So you have to kind of give lip service to the asphere and just say, okay, yeah, I see it. The sky's red, whatever. And, give me my resources and let me go. But most people end up almost rejecting their own experience in favor of twisting their asphere. Because our asphere is really our belief systems and our logical faculties. And so they end up twisting their logical faculties and their belief systems to fit into this. So, they'll use things like rationalization, coming up with excuses for these other people, the consensus, who's telling you the sky is red. Or they will use consensus as an example of truth, which is another logical fallacy, saying just because everybody believes it, that means it's true, which is not true. But they'll use that, and so they end up getting stuck in the asphere because one lie, one rationalization, one bad piece of logic leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and eventually they have what you would call Stockholm syndrome, where they're using, the powers that be, they're bending over backwards to defend them, even though it contradicts with their own experience. So probably the better approach is just to give this lip service, get in there, get what you need, and get out. Because the asphere is really only our third faculty. We have 9 more to go. And we can't afford to get stuck here, because we can get stuck here for 40 years and then look back and we're retired and we don't know anything else besides the 8th and the 9th sphere. So it's better to just move on and move to the 7th sphere, where the 8th sphere is really like the real world. The 7th sphere is more like the imaginary world. So the 7th sphere is what you imagine that the asphere could be. You see the problems with the asphere and you imagine something better, and you want to be able to provide a different alternative to the asphere. And you don't really recognize that they're not looking for a different alternative. So you've kind of got this idea that you can change it. But so you use your imagination, You also have at the seventh sphere, you have faculties of you have your inspiration, being able to see other people that have come before you that have done similar things that you admire, that motivate you to do what you've done. You have your creativity and your pleasure principle also at the seventh sphere that gives you the ability to put things together into new, original, and beautiful, harmonious relations with each other so that they're pleasing to you and to other people and they're new and different. And so, and then you also have your intuition, which allows you to ask questions of yourself. Go inside and say, what can I do to make this better? And you will get answers from your heart that are true and that are correct. But you may mistranslate them. So they have to be verified. You have to, as part of intuition, you have to verify your intuitions. But you can put all these things together to create an alternative to the eighth sphere, whether that's a song or a poem or a play or an invention, something to provide the eighth sphere with some correction. And you also, in the broader sense, you give yourself a higher calling in life for your whole life, where the eighth sphere wants you to be a cog in the machine. They want you to be one of the set categories that they already have. They want you to be a middle manager. They want you to be a technician, or they want you to be a lawyer. And here you want to be, instead, your alternative is that you want to be the very best version of yourself on this planet. How can I contribute to this planet and this universe to the best of my ability? You put all those things together and you go inside and you come up with a higher calling for yourself. And so that propels you up the tree, because you realize that you have to be able, that this is going to be all encompassing, and that you have to be able to open up your higher faculties in order to have a shot at accomplishing your higher calling, which is in some sense an impossible mission impossible, but you can succeed if you actually can open up all of these higher powers. So that's what kind of gets you going. And so the first place that you go then is the sixth sphere. This is our center. This is if this were a map, it would say you are here. This is our free will faculty, our ability to pay attention and to make decisions. So we find ourselves normally paying attention to the 8th, 9th, and 10th spheres because this is where we're comfortable. This is what we're comfortable with. This is what we grew up with. But we have the ability within free will to make decisions. So we can make a decision to ignore these and to avert our attention from this area and to instead point our attention at our higher aspects, spiritual aspects that we maybe are unknown right now, but we can develop them over time. And so this requires courage because now we're staring into the unknown instead of into our comfort zone. And so that requires courage, but if we can summon the courage to do that, then we can point our attention at the next higher sphere, the 5th, which is really our sense of justice or sense of fairness, sense of right and wrong. And this is, what you would really call karma. You can envision it as a mirror right here that reflects. Okay, so what we have is we have cause and effect. We have what comes around goes around. As you sow, so shall you reap. For every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. What we put in is what we get back. And karma is really judging us based on violence, waste, and violation. So those criteria go in. So if you are being violent, you will get violence in return. If you are violating somebody, you will get violated in return. If you start complaining about what you get in return, you know, you can recognize now that you're paying attention that you're creating what's happening to you. It's not bad luck. It's not that you're cursed. You know, it's that you created it yourself and it's coming back to you. Now, it's possible that you created this in a previous lifetime, and you may need to deal with that through another aspect of the sixth sphere called the disciplined self-sacrifice. But once you have dealt with your past life karma, you can enjoy a spiritual immunity, because if you can eliminate the violence, waste, and violation from your actions, then you won't get any in return, and nothing bad can happen to you then, because you're not putting it out there. Now that's kind of idealistic. You'll probably always create some, but you will keep it to a very sustainable level. Now you can also then apply yourself to the fourth sphere, apply your attention to the fourth sphere, where the fifth sphere is about the enforcement of the natural law and order of things. The fourth sphere is about the articulation of that law. And so this is in the ancient cosmologies and the theories of everything. And you can use these. We generally have one that we've learned growing up, but there are many, many, many of these. And by studying as many as possible, you can kind of synthesize them and use your intuition again, go inside and figure out how to sift through all the various different cosmologies that you've learned. The books that talk about how, not only the creation myth, but how we got here, where we came from, what's our relationship with nature, and what's our relationship with God, what's the code of ethics, and all of these different things. And different people from over the world have different ideas of that. But when we put them all together and use our intuition and then verify our intuition, we can come up with kind of a holistic cosmology of our own. Okay, then we talk about the psychic powers of the abyss. These are psychic heat and psychic receptivity, triggered by a magnetic charge, or what you would call a coincidence or an omen. Something that's highly anomalous. It should bring out an attention to you, like you should notice it. And that's the psychic receptivity, the first part of the psychic powers. And the second part is the psychic heat, being able to act upon the omen. And being able to act upon the omen will give you kind of a course of action within it. And to take that action requires courage, but to do so means that you're tuning into like the natural language of the universe, which speaks to us through omens. Okay, and then at the top of the tree, we've got 3, 2, and 1. These are our divine faculties within. And as I said, they're very rare to tap into, but this is omnipotence, all-powerful. This is omniscience, all-knowing, or wisdom. And this is omnipresence, all-present, all at once. We tap into this through sound power, generally through the use of japa, repetitive mantra, but also through things like sacred music and drumming, shamanic drumming. This is basically being able to fulfill the higher calling that we declared down here. That's omnipotence, being able to fulfill our mission. And then wisdom is really being able to solve our problems. And we are able to do this through sight, through being able to see the solution to our problem by being able to shut off our thinking, particularly our verbal thinking, and being able to see through the mind to the solution, which we see here. So we see the image of the solution to the problem. Here at the first sphere, omnipotence, omnipresence, we are actually not only able to see the solution, we are able to be the solution. We are able to merge with our higher self inside and thereby unify, because we recognize what's at our higher self inside, at our deepest center, is the same as what's at everybody else's deepest center. So when we reach our center, we reach the center of everything else, which is the whole universe, everything. And if the universe itself is the whole, is everything, then the 0 above the tree is nothing. Okay, everything and nothing, and also a mystery or an emptiness. And so the 0 sphere is not part of the universe, but it is part of the creator. The 0 sphere is part of the creator that the creator reserves for itself. So we do not have direct access to this, but it can be very powerful if we can tap into it anyway. So those are really like the 12 major aspects of the tree. Now, when we superimpose a small tree on each one, then we break it down into the 12 by 12, or the 144 different minor aspects. And that's what we're doing here with this question. What limits proliferation of isotopes within atoms? This is number 68. Okay, number 68 is within the 5th sphere, and it is the abyss fractal of the 5th sphere. So the 5th sphere is about the enforcement of the law. The 5th sphere is about karma. What comes around goes around. And the abyss within it is about our psychic powers. This is really a electromagnetic power here within this. So the abyss within sphere, fractals of the different spheres really refers to the electromagnetism. And particularly in this case, we're talking about an electromagnetic charge, which creates isotopes. Stage number 68 is about the behavior of isotopes of an atom that are out of balance, or B radioactivity. Isotopes, the variations within atoms, come from charged electron neutrinos, notation 1/2, 1/2, -1, which are a combination of a charged electron, which is a notation of 0, 0, -1, and a muon neutrino, which is a notation of 1/2, 1/2, 0. An electron, a byproduct from the conversion of a cosmic proton to a material proton, picks up a charge from the atomic region motion and then combines with a muon neutrino, which are everywhere, increasing the nuclear charge. Eventually, when the nuclear charge gets out of balance with the rest of the atom itself becomes unstable, requiring a radioactive explosion, which is an explosion in three-dimensional time, which we observe as an implosion in space. The explosion can eject an alpha particle or a beta particle. Beta radioactivity allows the atom to eject beta particles, which are either electrons or positrons, to get back into the stability zone. B radioactivity does not involve mass. The atoms are just ejecting positrons or electrons, along with muon neutrinos, which are also massless. So only some adjustment of secondary mass is needed. To understand B radioactivity, we must distinguish between rotational and vibrational mass. The rotational mass is stable, but the vibrational mass is subject to decay and must stay in balance with the rotational mass. Beta radioactivity is visualized as a polar jet, filaments shooting out from the center of the atom. While alpha decay would be emitted like a ring, beta like a polar jet, but the atom is rotating and twisting constantly. So both would probably appear as a spherical distribution. After the explosion, ejecting the charge, if the atom is still outside the stability zone, then the radioactive process is repeated. If the explosion puts the atom back into the stability zone, the atom is still intact, so it will continue to aggregate until it is unstable again, requiring another explosion. So, unbeknownst to legacy science, The radioactive atom is exploding over and over and over again in three-dimensional time. The half-life of radioactive atoms is due to an atom throwing motion outward, then running into it again and again. Beta decay can be a byproduct of alpha decay, because alpha decay can stabilize the rotational mass of the atom, but destabilize the vibrational mass, requiring one or more beta explosions. Okay, that is number 68, the abyss fractal of the fifth sphere, beta radioactivity. And I'm sure that may have been very confusing to some people, possibly including myself. But once we learn a little bit more about the reciprocal system of theory from Dewey B. Larson, and we study a little bit of that, we can probably come back and revisit this and make it, put it back into context so that we can understand it. Again, the Tree of Life is to really lay the groundwork, and once we have this groundwork put down, then we're going to be needing to refer to it, over and over again for different aspects. Okay, well, thank you for sticking around to the end of the video, and please click the like button, and you can share the video with others, subscribe to the channel. If you'd like to get that free guide to the 144 different fractal faculties, just click the link in the description. You'll also find in the description my Venmo and Cash App if you'd like to donate directly to this project. And I will be presenting another of the fractal faculties tomorrow, so please tune in for that. And I hope you have a great day between now and then.